Big 12 Media Day is going on right now in Frisco, Texas. Coach Prime, everybody wants to know what Deion Sanders has to say in year number 3.
We want to win at all costs. We want to be in that championship game, not here at the Star, but over in that other big house that Jerry's built. That's what we want to do, and that's what we're gearing up for. That's all we're playing for. We play to win. We don't just play to compete.
Well, our guest, Shehan Jeyarajah, certainly plays to win, not just compete every time he joins us. Shehan, it's great to be joined by you over there in Frisco. We're just talking over the breakout. It's a little more laid back over there compared to some of the other media days, although right now there seems to be a buzz with this new 16-team Big 12 coming off a great storyline last year with Colorado and, of course, with Arizona State, the champion. What's the vibe over there like right now?
Yeah, the vibe is very positive. I think what's unique about the Big 12 right now is that, yeah, these are a lot of programs who maybe would like an opportunity to be in the SEC or the Big 10, but I think everybody's very happy where they're at as well. And the other big part about this is when you look conference to conference, it's so rare to have a league top to bottom where every single program believes that they have what it takes to win the league, at least at some point. And, you know, you look at the over-under bets, right? Like right now in the Big 12, everybody is between a 5.5 or 8.5 win total. So it's going to be incredibly competitive, and everybody has a lot of excitement about where this season may lead for them.
Yeah, no question. I think it's that lack of predictability at the top that makes this conference special. Right now, Colorado's hoping to have something special again this season. But you lose maybe the best 2 athletes that we've seen in this league the last 2 years in Shedeur Sanders and, of course, the Heisman Trophy winner in Travis Hunter. So what is life going to be like for Coach Prime without those 2 guys? Who fills the void?
Well, it's fascinating, right? Because Deion Sanders has always been very upfront about the fact that he loves to coach because he loves coaching his sons. And this is the first time at Colorado that he's going to kind of be coaching a normal football team. But there's a lot of talent left behind as well. Of course, at quarterback, they've got 2 guys who are both here at Big 12 Media Days. And Deion Sanders was very upfront about the fact that, hey, you know what? We don't have a starting quarterback as yet. Both these guys are still competing. But I think you also have to look on the defensive side of the ball. They brought over Jaheim Otis from Alabama, one of the best defensive tackles in the nation and the top one in the transfer portal. They've got a defensive coordinator in Robert Livingston, who I think was maybe the unheralded star of the 2024 Colorado team. And at wide receiver as well, they feel really good about what they've got with Draylon Miller leading the way. So this is still a very talented Colorado team, but it's going to have to look a lot different than what it did in 2024.
What is the latest? I know a lot of this is still going to be determined when we start talking about fall practice, but the latest there with the quarterback battle.
Well, look, what Coach Sanders said was that Julian Lewis is coming, right? He is the long-term answer at the quarterback position, the fantastic true freshman from out of Carrollton, Georgia. But Caden Salter, coming over from Liberty, is a proven commodity. He helped lead Liberty to the 2023 Conference USA Championship. They played in the Fiesta Bowl against Oregon. So he is a proven player. He was originally recruited as well by Tennessee, so he has that kind of pedigree. But you know, it's going to be sort of a balance of when is it time for Julian Lewis to take over. I would expect that Caden Salter is ultimately the starting quarterback when the season opens. We'll have to see whether it comes this year or the year after that Julian Lewis is ultimately able to overtake and become the long-term face of the program.
Certainly there's going to be a lot of people that are going to say Colorado takes a step back this year, and with some other programs emerging and with returning stars, maybe this is the year that is a little bit more humbling for Coach Prime. What are realistic expectations in 2025?
Well, I think that making a bowl game would be a really good year for Colorado, just in terms of them being able to show some long-term consistency. Because, again, you look at these past 2 years, the roster and the program was structured around trying to feature 2 guys who are no longer on campus, in Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter. So for them to be able to show some staying power, win some games that they're not supposed to, have a really organized, structured team, and also be able to retain Robert Livingston long-term. And by the way, I'll throw on top of that, Julian Lewis emerging at the quarterback position. There's a lot of ways that this season can be a success, but they've got to make it to the postseason for this season to be considered at least any sort of win in 2025.
All right, let's switch gears here and talk Utah. It was a 5-7 year. We're not used to seeing 5-7 coming out of a Coach Whittingham team. And yet I look at it. Help me explain this. I know you're not making the odds in Vegas, but right now Utah is the odds-on favorite to win the Big 12. Meanwhile, Arizona State, who actually won it, returns their coach and their starting quarterback. What am I missing here?
Well, it's fascinating, right? I thought that Utah could be a potential high upside pick because you talk to people around this conference, they see Utah in maybe that 6 to 8 range. It's kind of a surprise to see them, at least on the odd side of things, to be a Big 12 favorite. And, you know, we can kind of have a conversation about how odds, especially in a league like this, that's so unpredictable. You know, it's not necessarily always the most predictable of markers, but you look at Utah and defensively, I mean, you can set your watch to them. This is one of the best defensive programs of the past 20 years in college football. And offensively, they have made some big swings. They brought over offensive coordinator Jason Beck and quarterback Devin Dampier from New Mexico. That was the only offense in college football last year to produce 2,000-yard rushers in the regular season, and Dampier at the quarterback position is one of them. So if they're able to improve what was one of the worst offenses in all of college football each of the past 2 years, there's absolutely a pathway that Utah can get back to Big 12 contention. To expect it, though, that's a lot to ask for me.
Yeah, obviously Isaac Wilson a little bit overwhelmed last year, 2-5 in 7 games, but Devin Dampier, he's a different kind of quarterback, and they're certainly expecting different results this year under center.
No question. And Devin Dampier is a dynamic a dual threat athlete. I mean, he is somebody who's really going to be able to add a floor to an offense that we haven't seen at Utah these past couple of years. They've been very pro style historically. Again, I mentioned he was a 1,000-yard rusher, and this offense is going to have a lot of hallmarks of being some of those spread option teams that actually Urban Meyer at Utah was known for in the early 2000s. I got a chance to talk to Coach Whittingham earlier today, and he thought it was very astute, the comparison of, you know what, this is actually getting back to some of what this program was built on and how we had some of our early success. They're really excited about what Devin Dampier can be in this program. And the other thing, too, is that they have a lot more quarterback depth in 2025 than what they've had the past few years. They're excited about their roster, and they believe they're ready to go.
All right, let's switch gears now to Stillwater. And again, when you look at what happened last year for Mike Gundy, it was a disaster, and it was the worst season in Stillwater in 25 years. You got to go back to the Bob Simmons era, although many people around Oklahoma State would like to forget that one. So what is it about Oklahoma State and Mike Gundy that's going to be able to turn it around? We go back to our conversation with Chip Patterson. He believes this new era of the portal and NIL has kind of passed Mike Gundy by. Do you agree with that assessment?
I think that's a little simplistic, but I do think that there are aspects that make a lot of sense with that. I mean, you look at their best recent team. It was in 2021, which was the first year of this new transfer portal and NIL era. The other thing, too, is that when you start comparing it to previous Mike Gundy teams and previous Oklahoma State eras, you kind of can't make that comparison because every single offensive and defensive assistant from last year are all gone now. That includes mainstays like Casey Dunn, who's been there 10 plus years. That includes John Wozniak, a great running backs coach. They've got 2 new coordinators. They've got 65 new players on the roster. There's essentially no DNA that's identical between what Oklahoma State was in their glory days and what they are now, other than Mike Gundy. Now, Gundy, I think, has done a tremendous job over the years of adjusting and moving with the times. And I do think he probably has been a little slow to adjust to this era. But, I mean, you look at this year, right? 65 new players coming in, 40 plus of them through the transfer portal, and a number of them brought over because of solid NIL contracts as well. So I don't think that it's necessarily just that he's been unwilling to use it, but I think that they've got to prove that they can keep kids on campus, they can develop kids, and ultimately that they can stay ahead of these new dynamics. Because if there's one thing that Oklahoma State has been defined by, it's finding new answers on offense. They haven't done that the past few years.
It's really interesting, Shehan, because when you look at the Mike Gundy era, there's some historical milestones. There's 3-time Coach of the Year awards. He won the Big 12 a few years ago. And yet, here's a guy now that you start thinking about it, what kind of pressure could be on him. I realize it wasn't that long ago they were worried about losing him to another job. Now there's talk about how secure is that job for Mike Gundy in Stillwater.
Well, it's fascinating, right? I mean, there's so few guys who have that tenure at this point in college football. He's tied with Kyle Whittingham at Utah for the second longest tenure in college football, only behind Iowa's Kirk Ferentz. And a lot of the guys who have been there for years and years did get cycled out because of some of these dynamics. Obviously, even Nick Saban, who was hired in 2007, decided to leave last year. So it's hard to adjust with how different these times have been. And it's fair to say this is not the job that Mike Gundy signed up for in 2005. But you either have to adjust to the times or you have to move on, because this is a moment in college football that you can't be caught flat-footed. It's something that if you struggle now, it can impact you for the next decade as well. So they've got to get this thing figured out, and there will be tough conversations at the end of the year if Mike Gundy fails to do so.
No doubt about it. Shehan, you are never on the hot seat. Always appreciate the knowledge and appreciate the time. You see the upcoming media days. It's going to be a circus. It always is with the SEC. This year it's in Atlanta at the College Football Hall of Fame. Then it's the ACC in Charlotte. We're going to Vegas, baby. The Big Ten in Vegas? Why not? July 22nd to July 24th.